any pathway you drive, like you were saying with TRT, like you cannot just supercharge one pathway and hope for good things to come from it. So, but I will say, like, sometimes that leg up, right? People just need that leg up, and they have such a phenomenal anti-inflammatory effect on the joints and the brain, and we have studies on this, and people feel so much better on them very often. And they're like, oh my God, my lights turned on. I feel like exercising again. I feel like moving. So I think they're such a phenomenal tool to really get that needle moving. But if you really are using them for obesity or weight loss, this is why I'm such a proponent of keeping the dose as low as humanly possible and going as slow as possible, so we have time to implement some of these other strategies and really this is what I'm trying to work through in my course, is getting people to understand at least the very basics so that they can go into this and know, like, it's not just about cranking a peptide in or a medication and hoping that good things will come. But on the LPS, here's the crazy thing about lipopolysaccharides. They drive pain. They drive pain. And so I've heard from many people, everybody thinks they're microdosing, but again, very few people are. So 99% of you who think you're on a microdose, you're not. You're probably on a standard dose. But they think they're microdosing, and they say it was phenomenal for my pain, but now my pain's coming back, and it's coming back with a vengeance. And it makes me immediately go to the gut and, like, how much LPS are they producing and what's going on there? Because the bad bugs produce these toxins, and these toxins will drive pain. And it's a whole thing it does with your central nervous system. And so it's kind of sucky. It happened to me too. Like, my SIBO flared, and it wasn't just because of the GLP-1, because I wasn't actually even on a GLP-1 when my SIBO flared. It was stress, but my SIBO flared, and my pain goes through the roof when my SIBO flares. And it's like the first thing that happens. And I was like, damn it. This is such an unfortunate thing for so many people who are probably using these with having such great impacts on some pretty seriously painful conditions, because I came out and was talking about it years ago, and now they're back into the pain cycle. And I'm wondering in those cases if it isn't their gut health. Anyway, that's my side thought. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And the LPS drives inflammation, and then it drives the insulin resistance too, which, let's not even consider the thyroid, which we need to for weight loss. But the insulin resistance is probably the primary driver of why they got obese in the first place and would be taking the medication. So yeah, LPS is a huge issue, and definitely something. It's why every naturopath who's worth seeing always addresses the gut. And I think everyone needs to at least 2 to 3 times a year, maybe once or twice, if you're doing all the things right, do some sort of gut repair. Even if you think you're doing everything perfectly, it really pays to bring it in, because I have unlimited supply of gut repair. I'm a naturopath. I eat really well, but stress is just something that's unavoidable in life. You and I have spoken offline about all the stresses we've been through. Well, that's going to directly wreak havoc on your gut health too. Like, it really sucks, but it is what it is. That's life. So understanding our life situations and then supplementing or doing protocols to sort of counteract the life we choose or don't choose to live is just how we get through this life healthy. Which, if you don't do those things, I really strongly believe those who don't are going to have a decreased lifespan. It just makes mechanistic sense to me. Like, how can you just go through all these things and not have one of these chronic diseases come up and shorten your life if you're not proactive about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I want to just summarize. So when someone's going on a GLP-1, I love TUDCA. I love ox bile. I love the ultimate GI repair. I love those, just hands down. And those are I would say with the TUDCA and with the ox bile in it or not. But those are kind of ongoing usually. And I tend to dose very low because I am conservative and I don't want to drive somebody's liver that's super toxic into overdrive. And this is not treatment advice. This is just how I do it clinically. I'm just conservative with everything. And then I love the ultimate GI repair because I have personally found, and the way that I use it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, I don't keep people on it indefinitely. I tend to do it for a round. I'll do a round of it. And that round could be like 10 days, 15 days, 30 days. But I love that you can come back to it. Like, usually I'll have a bottle for quite a while because it takes me a few rounds to get through it, but it's such a great, like, I literally just pulled it out the other day, Kyal. I'm packing, I'm purging right now, and I'm about to leave in a few days. I'm getting in the truck and leaving and driving to Arizona with my dogs. And I'm so freaking stressed out. And it was like, You were like a little fairy. You had sent me all of this level up stuff and I had set it all in this bin and I get downstairs and I was having a day of it. I was like crying 1 minute because I'm leaving my family, right? I'm crying 1 minute, I'm excited the next minute. And I get down there and my gut's a freaking wreck. I haven't pooped in 3 days at this point. I never get constipated. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, this is clearly stress. And I get down there and like, there's the goodies. There's the level up goodies. And I was so happy and took them everything regulated within 24 hours. I was so happy. But I was like, there's my TEDCA, there's my ultimate GI repair. Perfect. Game on. So I use these even without, I'm not on a GLP-1 currently. I use these anyway. So I just wanted to share that before we move on. Do you have anything else about the gut and the liver and that whole complex before we get to muscle and thermogenics?
Not really. We can move on to muscle wastage. I'm pretty sure that's the second most common thing that happens. And it all feeds into, we can't ever leave our conversation when we're talking and staying true to holism of naturopathy and naturopathic medicine. So yeah, I'm glad they managed to help. I think it just goes to show how quickly some of these interventions can work when you're doing all the things. Like it's just a quick, all right, course correction or a very subtle, maybe 1 to 2 days of dosing things that are really powerful is all that you really need if you've got yourself optimized versus someone who's lived a life and continues to live a life of stress and poor choices. It takes a lot longer. So yeah, thanks for letting me know. I'll happily be your supplement fairy or supplement Santa if I want to be a bit more masculine about it.
I
But
was it was like a little nest of goodies that I found in the corner because I get so much stuff sent to me. So sometimes I just rifle it all downstairs into my studio and I'm like going through all this, slugging through, going through your supplements and like smelling what's expired, what do you got to throw out? I can imagine you probably have like a closet full of supplements like I do. So it was a lot of that was like took a whole day to pack my supplements and I found them and I was like, yes, Kyal delivers. That's great.
I got about a
So
4-to-1 ratio of supplements to food in our pantry. It's a bit ridiculous.
yes. Yes, you
Anyway,
understand. So,
back to the
okay. So yeah,
point at hand. Caloric restriction, GLP-1s inducing caloric restriction and reduced appetite can cause rapid muscle mass loss, especially dosed at the wrong dose, as we've established. But even if you're doing it right, making sure that you are exercising when you're taking a GLP-1 to counteract that AMPK, mTOR, IGF, they kind of like swing with each other. And if you're only doing one and not the other, you are going to lose muscle almost not as quickly, but you will lose muscle concurrently when you're losing fat. And that's not a good thing for anything because we mentioned insulin, all the LPS driving, inflammation driving insulin resistance, and insulin resistance being the reason you gain the weight in the first place because of dietary choices. Well, insulin is triggered when you eat carbs and it's meant to dispose of that sugar into muscle. That's like the best place for it to go because then it's used. But if you don't have the muscle, then it's just going to be more likely to be stored in and you end up with a rebound weight gain too if you've lost muscle too. So muscle is an organ that we need to preserve, and anyone on a GLP-1 really needs to improve their exercise if it's not existent or maintain it if it already is existent too, and don't just get complacent because you're losing the weight without having to exercise. They need to be done concurrently.